Hello, everyone, and welcome to a little short clip from Parenting is Easy, Said No One Ever. I am your host, Chananya Abraham, and we've had a request a number of times now to talk about different techniques or different styles of parenting. So I put together a short 5-minute video of different types of parenting. Now, I think the most important thing to realize when it comes to parenting, there is no thing as one size fits all. And we have to be able to be good and helpful for a child for what they need. So you could have twins, you can have siblings that are so identical in so many ways that we think they might need the same exact thing, but realize, no, we have to do what's best for our child. And that's the most important thing. So that's really, really important as we get started over here. And we talk about the 5 main types and forms of parenting, something that was, I guess you could say, formulated in the 60s by some psychologists. And there are things that I talked about. And this is also going to be something that we're going to get into more detail. We're going to have a full podcast episode on these 5 parenting tips, but this is a short tidbit just so that you can understand. And there's no specific particular order when it comes to these parenting tips, but I think it's just something that we can realize different ways that we can parent out there. Now, these are not the only way. These are the 5, at least from what I've seen and what I've been able to pick up on, both as a parent and as a therapist working in this world for as long as I have, to be able for people to see that there are different ways to go about parenting. So the first one that I want to talk about is what is known as authoritarian parenting, whereas because I said so. And I think that's something that a lot of times we say as parents, and a lot of situations will be like, well, these rules are here and they have to be followed to the T, and there is no such thing as any negotiation, any talk or explanation. It's just because I said so, and that's something that there's very little emotion involved, and it's just about what the parent needs and wants in a situation. So some people might refer to that as like some sort of military way of doing things, or having a rulership, a monarchy, and there is no way to go about dealing with things because this is what I said. This can feel very, very restricted. It could be very, very hard for a child to actually learn how to be the best version of themselves when they were just told this is the way it is, and there is no room for any sort of wiggle room of how to go about things. Now, there might be certain situations in a home where that might be necessary, and that's okay, because there are certain things within a home that should be because I said so. So whether it's you have certain rules regarding technology, whether you have certain rules regarding the dinner table, maybe it could be certain things regarding bedtime, regarding handing over keys if they're starting to drive. There are certain things where you can say, well, this is the way it is in this household. But I think when we deliver things to our children, there has to be with a tone with, hey, yes, this is the way it is. Let's talk it out. And if you have any questions on it, but the authoritarian way can sometimes come off as a little bit too much. Now, it also makes a difference on the age of the child. And that's very important to realize as well. If your child is 3-4 years old, but yet they want to have candy for breakfast, you can say, well, this is not what we do here. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with saying that and being a little more forceful. As they get older and our children are trying to have a sense of autonomy for themselves, we want to be able to explain and talk things out with them. So that's authoritarian. That's the first one on I guess the best way to say it is the because I said so parenting. Then there's the permissive or the chill parent, the parent that doesn't have a lot of rules in the house. It's very, very laid back and go with the flow, and kids can do pretty much whatever they want. And in a way, the relationship is more like a friend than as a parent. And sometimes that can also come off as not doing what's best for the child. It's letting them do what they need. Rules are flexible to the point where sometimes it might not even feel like there are any rules, and things don't have to be kept because I could do whatever I want. Now, on the surface, it may sound very, very nice. And sometimes it can lead to kids, though, to not having enough structure. And structure is very important for kids. All kids crave structure. And that's really important. And they need to feel secure. It's one of the 4 S's, which we've talked a little bit about in the podcast, but check it out, please. And maybe we'll have a full episode on the 4 S's of being soothed, safe, seen, and secure. But if there are no rules and we're just going to be that chill parent, they're not going to feel secure in any way. And that could be an issue as well. Number 3 is what we call the uninvolved parent, or sometimes known as the checked out parent. It's not in a way where they can do whatever they want, but they have no idea what's going on in that child's life. That could be because they're whether they're super busy, stressed, dealing with some personal crisis, maybe some mental health things, but they don't have any rules whatsoever. And there's also no emotional support because the kids don't have a parent pretty much. They can leave them to feel completely disconnected or neglected. And that's something that we never want our kids to feel. We may not agree with our kids. We may not like what they're doing at times, but that doesn't mean that our kids should ever be neglected. And it's important to go ahead and step in with our kids' situation when they need the guidance, because they need us. They need our love. And uninvolved parents might struggle in that area. So that's something to point out, that it is important to be involved and to make sure that we are a part of their lives. Then we have an area that a lot of us are familiar with, whether it's from our own upbringing, or we've heard about this from my siblings, or maybe from our friends, the helicopter parenting, or the hovering parent, where they're always on top of every single situation that they want to be involved in, well, probably even more than they should be. Now, for the most part, I believe these parents, they mean well, because they want to protect their kids for every single little bump in the road, whether it's making decisions for them, getting them dressed, helping them too much with school projects, or trying to solve every little problem that they might have. I'll give you a perfect example over here. There's a difference between bullying and teasing. Bullying, unacceptable on all forms. Teasing is something that kids learn to build up regarding their own character, how to deal with it with their friends, how to deal with it emotionally within themselves. But if parents, every single time someone makes fun of them, let's use a silly example of their sports team lost last night, and now they're going to get made fun of. Is that something that we should be getting involved with as parents? Probably not, because there has to be a sense of being able to build up our own character. And if we're going to be helicopter parents, or we're going to be too much on top of things, kids are not going to learn to do on their own. The number one thing in parenting is for us to realize is that we only have them for a few years where we can feed them, foster them, and build up who they are. But they're going to be their own beings for most of their life. Don't we want to set them up in a way where they're able to grow their tree and have the best produce in the world? And if we're going to be helicopter parenting them, that's not going to work, because we're not going to teach that tree how to grow. We're not going to teach that tree how to make apples and grow further seeds. So it's very important to have a sense of knowing that there's a balance and I can't always be involved. And the last one that we're going to talk about over here is what's known as authoritative parenting, or sometimes known as Goldilocks parenting. Now, this is a perfect balance between how to have rules and expectations, but also being laissez-faire and being super loving and supportive. Now, parents in this situation explain why and how we have rules and why we go about certain things, but at the same time, we also let our kids make their own decisions. So let's use an example of, let's say a child has an hour's worth of tablet time every time they come home from school, but they also have to finish their homework. But they get to decide, do they want to do it before dinner? Do they want to do it after dinner and after they finish all the chores for the next day? They get to decide how to go about doing it, and it's really up to them. Our job is to go ahead and support them. When we have that sense of being able to be there with them, be it also giving them a sense of autonomy for themselves, we're teaching confidence. We're teaching them that there's a safe place to be here in the home. Yet at the same time, there are boundaries, there are ways we do things, and that's life in itself. There's always going to be boundaries, there's reciprocity, there's checks and balances, and we should be teaching that at home. So I think those are the 5 important things that I like talking about a lot here in this room. And obviously we're going to go into a lot more detail in all these things. But one more time to go through them, we have authoritarian parenting, which is because I said so. We have permissive parenting, which that's that chilled parent that's not really having much involvement. Then there's the uninvolved parenting, which that's the checked out parenting. We have the helicopter parenting, which is the hovering on top too much. And then we have the authoritative parenting, which is the Goldilocks type parenting, which is a healthy balance between all of them. Obviously, we have to talk a lot more about each one of these 5 things. For more information and to hear more on these 5 parenting tips, as well as more topics and ideas regarding you being the best parent that you can be, please like and subscribe to anywhere that you listen or watch this little clip. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out either on social media or at parentingiseasypodcast@gmail.com.